I would let the markets know that the Fed is no longer going to be setting interest rates, that the market was going to do that, and we were going to start liquidating our holdings of U.S. Treasuries because and of course, in so doing, there would be massive losses and the bill goes to the U.S. taxpayer. As the Fed unwinds its balance sheet, any losses are IOUs to the U.S. taxpayer because the U.S. government has to make the Fed whole for that. But also, I would let the government know that the Fed is no longer in the business of monetizing government debt, and that if you want your Build Back Better, you better figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Okay, this is what I want to talk about as well. Is they say it's cost $0. Is that bullshit?
Of course, it's bullshit. I mean, they always say that because their assumptions are ludicrous.
Like what? Break it down for me.
Well,
Professor
the revenue
Schiff.
Assumptions, they're not going to get the revenue. A lot of the revenue is supposedly going to come from extra IRS agents, getting the rich to pay their fair share. Well, they're not going to get much more money out of the rich. There's not that many rich people other than you crypto guys. And you don't pay taxes anyway because you never sell.
You're
right?
so salty.
You're
so salty.
You guys never sell, so they're not getting any
You'd
tax
be one of the
revenue.
richest people in the world if you had bought Bitcoin when you first heard about it. Keep going.
But they're not going to get the revenue. I mean, they're obviously mainly going to target the middle class. That's where the extra IRS enforcement is going. But it's hard to get blood from a stone. So I don't think they're going to get a lot of revenue. Meanwhile, all these new programs are going to cost so much more than they think. I mean, first of all, they act as if the programs are going to go away in 5 years because they don't want to count the spending in the out years. Although we all know that these programs never go away. Once they're there forever. I mean, we're still dealing with temporary programs from the Second World War. The war ended. Well, why are these temporary programs still in effect, right? They never go away. There's an old saying, I think it was Milton Friedman, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. So to pretend that these programs are going to sunset is nonsense. But also, they have grossly underestimated the cost because the government doesn't understand moral hazard. They don't understand what happens. So part of the Build Back Better is everybody gets free preschool. Well, the cost of preschool is going to go way up once the government makes it free because now the demand for preschool goes way up and now the preschool start jacking up their tuition. It's just like, look what government did to college tuition. Before the government started subsidizing college tuition and guaranteeing loans, college tuition was cheap. Government gets involved and it costs a fortune. So they're going to end up spending a lot more on preschool than they think. But I think the biggest one is going to be, if it stays in there, because the Senate might get rid of it, but that is the paid family medical leave, because everyone's going to take that. They just assume that, well, only the people that actually have a medical emergency are going to ask for their 4-week paid vacation. No, I mean, didn't they learn their lesson from the PPP or the extended unemployment benefits? If you tell an American that they can have a 4-week paid vacation at 90% of salary every single year, and all they have to do is claim they have to take care of a sick friend or family member. Well, I think they're tired of trying to obfuscate as to what they meant. I mean, I think initially when they said transitory, they meant transitory. Mm-hmm. But then when it turned out not to be transitory, they had to kind of redefine the word and kind of, to try to save face. But at this point, they've twisted it into such a pretzel that I think they just want to walk away from it because they really looked ridiculous in the face of overwhelming evidence that inflation was not transitory to try to claim that it was. But I still think the methodology that we're using today to calculate inflation is deeply flawed. And when they contrast what's happening today to the 1970s, they never talk about the fact that the CPI that exists today is nothing like the one that existed back in the 1970s.
And this is cost of living versus cost of goods.
Yes. I mean, and basically now it's the cost of surviving. I mean, by today's methodology, look, it doesn't matter if you're eating filet mignon or dog food. As long as you're eating, then you got nothing to complain about, right? They don't really look at the quality, even though they claim to when they have substitution or hedonics. But
that's a savage comment.
The whole thing is rigged now. But if we were measuring prices today and we just use the same CPI that they used back then, I think the inflation in 2021 was as bad, if not worse, than any single year of the 1970s.
Okay.
And
so
I think,
what percentage would that be?
I don't know, probably 13, 14, 15%.
Okay. So
that's probably
15, but over 10.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at import-export prices, those numbers are more real, and that's about what you see, because they're actually taking a look at how much are the goods that we're importing costing, what are the goods that we're exporting. It's just apples to apples, and you can actually see the prices. Although anecdotally, most of the price increases that people, point out to me, I get a lot of emails and people show me, hey, this is what I just bought, and here the exact same thing I bought last year or 6 months ago. And you look at the price increases, they're much bigger than 6%. Okay. Well, there probably would be no Fed if I was the president. I would have already gotten rid of it. But look, I predicted on my podcast that Biden would take the coward's way out and renominate Powell. I mean,
why is it the coward's way out?
Well, you don't want to go out on a limb and put somebody else in there who's your person, because then if anything goes wrong, it's your fault, right?
It's a safe
choice.
You
just leave the guy there that's there because, hey, everybody wants him there. And then if something goes wrong, hey, it's not my fault. Look, he's not my guy. Trump appointed him, and the Republicans wanted me to keep him, and so it's easier for him than going out on a limb, because if the economy does well or Powell does a good job, then he gets credit for reappointing him. But to go out in left field and go for a Brainerd or somebody else, and then something goes wrong, why? I mean, Trump kind of had to get rid of Yellen because he spent his whole campaign bashing Yellen, basically for doing exactly what he then bashed Powell for not doing, until Powell got his mind right and started doing exactly what Trump criticized Yellen for doing. But look, he's done a lousy job. I mean, if you want to look at the Fed's, mandate of price stability, we clearly don't have it. But I think really what the Fed's job is, as far as Biden is concerned, is helping me get reelected and kicking the can down the road until the next election.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. The fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much, much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.